China built more warship to fight America in South China Sea. The Chinese Navy is expanding its warship fleet as its responsibilities and ambitions grow. Dozens of destroyers and frigates are thought to be in the works, but it will take more than hardware to make the plan work, observers say. It is an aggressive plan, and if it works out, China will have a fleet of battleships to match its ambitions for a blue water navy over the next decade. As part of that plan, in 2019 alone, China launched 24 large warships, from destroyers to huge amphibious landing docks and corvettes. And more are on the way. The aim is to have a fleet that can guard its growing number of aircraft carriers and its interests around the world, including oil lifelines from the Middle East and its outposts in the contested South China Sea. But military observers warn that such rapid expansion will come at a price and take more than extra supplies of specialized steel to realize. There are no official Chinese projections on the number of battleships in the works, but the U.S. Congressional Research Service estimates that China will build another 65 warships in the next decade. In its report, China Naval Modernization, Implication for U.S. Navy Capabilities, released in December, the service said the expected additions to the fleet would take the total to 425 vessels, including aircraft carriers, submarines, and destroyers. With more than 300 warships on the water, China already has more of the vessels than the United States. The U.S. Department of Defense says China has the largest navy in the world, with an overall battle force of approximately 350 ships and submarines, including over 130 major surface combatants. The Congressional Research Service puts the U.S. Navy's battle force at about 293 ships as of early 2020. However, the U.S. Navy's battleships are much bigger and combat-ready. For example, the U.S. has 11 nuclear-powered aircraft carriers, while China has just 2 that are up and running and 1 ready for combat. China has 2 aircraft carriers in service, the Liaoning and the Shandong, and a third one is expected to be launched this year. Work on a fourth is also expected to get underway this year, with shipbuilders already stockpiling the specialized steel needed for its construction. To guard those carriers, China has been building another half a dozen Type 055 stealth destroyers. The destroyers are the world's second most powerful battleship after the U.S. Navy's Sumwalt class, and the PLA Navy has one in service so far. In addition, China's main naval contractor, China State Shipbuilding Corporation, is filling an order for about 20 upgraded frigates, known as the Type 054B, according to Chinese military magazine Ordnance Industry Science Technology. The magazine said the updated frigates would be fitted with revamped weapon systems and features, including a longer landing deck for helicopters and quieter propulsion systems. Chinese Z-20F anti-submarine warfare aircraft would also replace the original Russian Ka-28 helicopters, it said. 30 of the original version of the frigates were completed in 1 decade, with the last 6 vessels delivered in 2019. Within the carrier strike groups, the frigates are responsible for air defense and anti-submarine operations. They can cover large distances, have sophisticated shipborne weapons and stealth capabilities. Lu Lixi, a former instructor at Taiwan's Naval Academy in Kaohsiung, said the plans to build more Type 055 destroyers and new Type 054B frigates were part of preparations for the country's 4th aircraft carrier, a conventional-powered giant ship with the world's most advanced electromagnetic catapult system. Lu added that mainland Chinese builders and engineers were introducing weapon systems and electronic components that were more advanced in some cases than technology used in the U.S. We can see some cutting-edge equipment on Chinese warships that may be more advanced than American vessels. For example, the sign of a shipborne combat drone on the newly launched Type 075 amphibious helicopter landing dock, Lu said. An important element in the process will be greater use of domestically developed components on the new warships under a new policy aimed at accelerating weapon localization, according to Beijing-based military expert Zhou Cheng. Prices of Russian Ka-28 and China's Z-20F are the same, but the former is not as nimble and powerful as the indigenous aircraft, so why don't we use the better one, he said. Beijing needs the naval flotillas to safeguard oil supply lines stretching from the Middle East and through the high seas of the Indian Ocean and the South China Sea. China also has to protect overseas interests under the Belt and Road Initiative, a massive infrastructure project reaching from East Asia to Europe. At the same time, the PLA Navy sends escort flotillas to take part in the United Nations anti-piracy mission in the Gulf of Aden. But military experts said the construction spree had long-term implications for training, combat capability, and even maintenance. Andre Chang, editor-in-chief of the Canada-based Canway Defense Review, said it was impossible for a country to train capable captains and sailors to command near 100 modern warships just in a decade. A warship captain needs at least 4 years of academic education in naval school, while today's sailors need comprehensive technical, mental, and physical training, Chang said. China will also need a certain defense budget growth for the long-term maintenance of the hundreds of modern warships. It will be a heavy burden to the country. If war were to break out in the Pacific between China and the United States, the U.S. Navy would find itself in an extremely difficult predicament. While America does maintain the largest and most powerful navy on the globe, its security obligations are similarly far-reaching. America's navy serves as more than a defensive force for the nation and even more than a means of force projection to back American foreign policy. The United States Navy also serves as a stabilizing presence in shipping lanes the world over, ensuring the free trade of goods over heavily trafficked waterways that could otherwise be susceptible to the whims of bad state actors or even smaller pirate or terrorist regimes. As a result of these obligations, the United States Navy can't actually leverage the entirety of its sea power in any one region without leaving security and stability operations elsewhere in the world ignored. And therein lies the source of a great deal of confusion when it comes to comparing military strengths on a global scale. Many Americans are quick to point out that the U.S. has the most powerful military force, and therefore, should be able to exact quick and definitive victory over the opposition posed by less technologically advanced forces like the People's Liberation Army Navy China employs to defend its interests in the Pacific. While a comparison of aircraft carriers suggests a rapid American victory, a comparison of forces that could actually be leveraged in such a conflict doesn't paint quite as rosy a picture for American analysts. The truth is, despite America's Navy power, China could actually devote far more competent resources to a fight in the Pacific than America likely could, in part because of the aforementioned limitations on America's defense apparatus, and also because China's Navy isn't the only force Americans would find themselves squaring off against. China would almost certainly also leverage their Coast Guard and even maritime militia in such a conflict, in addition to the nation's massive stockpile of ballistic missiles, including hypersonic anti-ship missiles that America currently lacks any means of reliable defense against.